Hello and welcome back to Upgrade Your Life. In 2023, as the world rapidly evolves, corruption diversifies with challenges like digital fraud emerging alongside traditional forms. Rooted in politics, weak judiciaries, and societal norms, corruption's spread is exacerbated by globalization. While international bodies like the UN and World Bank intensify anti-corruption efforts, the global response's efficacy remains in question. Now, to further understand the global landscape of corruption, let's delve into each of the most corrupt nations in detail. Before we dive in, if you enjoy our content and find it valuable, please make sure to subscribe for more updates and insights. Somalia. Historically, the country has been racked by civil war, political instability, and weak governance structures. The lack of a strong central government for years, clan-based politics, and the presence of extremist groups have made it difficult to establish the rule of law, contributing to rampant corruption. Syria. Since 2011, Syria has been embroiled in a devastating civil war, leading to a fractured state with various groups vying for power. The war has devastated infrastructure, crippled the economy, and led to widespread desperation, thereby creating environments conducive to corruption. South Sudan. The world's youngest nation has been plagued by civil strife since its independence in 2011. Political rivalries, ethnic tensions, and battles for control of the nation's oil resources have contributed to an environment where corruption thrives. Venezuela. Economic mismanagement, political repression, and a deepening economic crisis have engulfed Venezuela. The erosion of democratic institutions and political polarization are central to the nation's corruption problems. Yemen. The ongoing conflict between Houthi rebels and the Yemeni government, exacerbated by regional powers' interventions, has led to humanitarian crises and created a vacuum where corruption can flourish. Libya. Since Muammar Gaddafi's fall in 2011, Libya has faced political instability with various factions and militias vying for control. This lack of centralized control and the nation's oil wealth have fostered corruption. North Korea. With an authoritarian regime and a closed economy, there's little transparency in North Korea. Corruption is systemic, with officials often requiring bribes due to their meager salaries and the need to show loyalty to the regime. Haiti. Political instability, frequent natural disasters, and poverty have hindered Haiti's development. Weak institutions and limited resources have made it challenging to combat corruption. Equatorial Guinea. Despite its vast oil wealth, the country's revenues have been concentrated among a small elite. The nation's leadership has been accused of embezzlement and misappropriation of state funds. Burundi. Political tensions, periodic violence, and a history of civil war have weakened Burundi's institutions. Corruption has been fueled by political patronage and lack of oversight. Turkmenistan. The nation is marked by an authoritarian regime with limited political freedoms and transparency. The state controls many sectors of the economy, and there's little accountability or oversight, leading to corruption. Chad. Chad's challenges stem from its fight against extremist groups, internal conflicts, and its reliance on oil revenue. Mismanagement of public funds and a lack of checks and balances contribute to its corruption issues. Comoros. Comoros, an island nation in the Indian Ocean, has faced numerous coups since its independence. Political instability, combined with a lack of strong institutions, has made it vulnerable to corruption. The nation's limited economic opportunities also push many towards corrupt practices as a means of survival. Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has a long history of conflict, notably the two Congo Wars, which have had lasting impacts on its governance. The nation is rich in minerals, but due to illicit trade and mismanagement, its resources often don't benefit the population. This combination of conflict and vast mineral wealth has fostered an environment ripe for corruption. Guinea-Bissau. Recognized as a major transit point for cocaine trafficking between South America and Europe, Guinea-Bissau struggles with political instability. Coups and political assassinations have been common, and the influx of drug money further complicates the corruption landscape. Republic of the Congo. The Republic of the Congo also faces challenges related to its oil resources. Though oil-rich, many in the country live in poverty, and allegations of misused oil revenues are rife. Weak governance and limited checks on power further aggravate corruption issues. Sudan. The long-standing conflict in Darfur, civil wars, and political unrest, including the ousting of President Omar al-Bashir, have deeply affected Sudan. The nation's institutions are underdeveloped, and there's a lack of transparency in sectors such as gold mining and oil. Corruption has been deeply entrenched in both the public and private sectors. Eritrea. Often dubbed the North Korea of Africa, Eritrea is a highly militarized, one-party state. It lacks a transparent judiciary and no independent media, leading to a closed-off nation where corruption goes unchecked. The compulsory national service, which can last indefinitely, has also been a point of contention and a source of human rights abuses. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's challenges include hyperinflation, economic mismanagement, and political repression. Under the long rule of Robert Mugabe, the country faced land seizures and economic collapse, which set the stage for systemic corruption. Despite attempts at reform, many of these issues persist. Myanmar. Historically ruled by a military junta, Myanmar has seen economic mismanagement, ethnic tensions, and human rights abuses. The military's involvement in many sectors of the economy and its control over the nation has created an environment conducive to corruption. Iran. While Iran is resource-rich, international sanctions, political repression, and a lack of transparency in its economy have contributed to corruption. The dominance of the Revolutionary Guard in various economic sectors has further exacerbated these issues. Honduras. Honduras faces challenges like drug trafficking, gang violence, and political instability. These factors, combined with the weak rule of law and limited accountability, have made it challenging to combat corruption. Azerbaijan. This oil-rich country has grappled with allegations of money laundering, especially among its elite. The lack of a free press and political repression have hindered efforts to address corruption transparently. Nigeria. Despite being one of Africa's largest economies, Nigeria has a long history of corruption. From the mismanagement of oil revenues to widespread bribery in various sectors, corruption is systemic. Efforts are being made to combat it, but challenges remain. Lebanon. Lebanon faces sectarian politics, a history of civil conflict, and more recently, a massive economic crisis. These, combined with weak public institutions and a lack of transparency, have created a breeding ground for corruption. Guatemala. This Central American nation has been plagued by drug trafficking, gang violence, and political instability. Although there have been efforts to combat corruption, like the UN-backed International Commission Against Impunity in Guatemala, CICIG, systemic issues persist. Central African Republic. The Central African Republic has been mired in civil conflict for years, with various groups vying for control. This instability, combined with resource wealth, especially diamonds and gold, has made it a hotspot for corruption. Corruption, deeply rooted in some nations due to political instability, weak judiciaries, and societal norms, poses global challenges. As the interconnected world feels its ripple effects, addressing it becomes a collective concern. The road ahead demands robust international cooperation and an unwavering commitment to transparency and accountability. The fight is not just for these nations but for a globally shared future of integrity. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Thank you for your support.